next speaker. He was elected last year by the voters to face these challenges head on, and he's doing just that. He's the right man in the right place at the right time. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to some, present to others, the Wayne County Executive, Warren C. Evans.
Good evening, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be on the campus of Wayne County Community College. It is an institution that's been important in our communities all through Wayne County for many, many years. I am thankful to Dr. Ivory and the campus president for allowing me to use these facilities at no charge, to be able to go out to the community as opposed to having a staged state of the county address that has production costs that we come out and talk and then hit the curtain in the back and go home before anybody has a chance to say anything, at least that we hear. That's not the way we wanted to do it this time, and I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate all of you that are here, those of you who are representing unions, those of you who are representing communities, those of you who are just representing your family, and the stakeholders from Wayne County that are here, that are my partners in whatever it is we do. Of course, we're partners if I do it right. We probably aren't partners if I do it wrong. And nobody's perfect in getting it done, but I don't say that facetiously. It's a team that tries to get things done. And I see Commissioner Ray Basham in the back. He's frowning at me already. Ray. I see Joey Palmera in the back. Commissioner Diane Webb is right up front here. Commissioner Alona Varga is right here. And it says something that they come. I mean, to some extent, they want to come and hear what we're talking about. But please understand, in this administration, we do talk. We talk to the We talk to our stakeholders, so most things are not a surprise. But we got, and you know, once I start doing this, it always becomes terrible. We have Mayor Risolas over here, Councilman Woolsey, State Representative. We have a number of people. I'm going to miss somebody, but stakeholders are here, and from my perspective, everybody has skin in this game, and that's what stakeholders are. And one of the things that I tried to do when I took office is, number one, say, I acknowledge that we have not been transparent in the past. One of the critical things is to be completely transparent. Another thing that I thought is totally important is, let's not argue about things we don't have to argue about. And how deep the hole is, how deep the financial distresses in Wayne County should not be a debatable topic. We just have to look at it with the objective folks to find out how deep the hole is, and then we have to convey that message, and then where it gets a little lively is how we get out of the hole. Now, because that involves an awful lot of talking with stakeholders and looking at ways to do it in a way that's the least onerous on all of us, and particularly the workers in Wayne County. At the end of the day, county government, like most governments, is about two things: people providing services for other people. It is a people game. And it's important that we always acknowledge that. Now, I will start by saying, if you're a county worker, you have every right in the world to be mad. Because for a number of years, you made concessions with the idea that your concessions were going to stabilize the county's finances. It did not. I don't blame that on you. Please don't blame that on me. We are in this mess, and we have to find ways to get out of the mess, but the truth of the matter is, we're in a hole, and after we finish getting mad, we're still broke. And we have to fix the problem. So let me start by reiterating the depth of the hole, and then I want to talk about what we've done to date to try to relieve that. and to talk to some extent about the heavy lifting that we have to do going forward. And trust me, things are moving so fast that in the next 90 days, I will be prepared to come back and say, and here's where we're going from here. Because this doesn't solve the problem, but it's the start to solving the problem. So, and I should reiterate too, there are no home runs in this game that I can see. This is about bump singles, this is about sacrifice flies, maybe a double every now and then, but there are no home runs that are going to get us out of this mess. You know, you eat an elephant one bite at a time, and that's kind of what we're looking at and trying to do. But having said that, we started with a philosophy that, number one, I have to hire people to come in and work. The new administration always hires people to bring them in. Everybody I brought in, and everybody who is still now my appointee, kept over from the previous administration, gave up 5% coming in the door. You got to start with some sacrifice from the top, because quite frankly, as I sat on the outside, people did not believe that it was a shared sacrifice. Right or wrong, isn't it? You know, oftentimes perception is reality. And the perception was the folks at the top don't take a hit, the folks at the bottom get beat up. That was the perception. All of my people took a 5% pay cut. And quite frankly, there were some spots, people that did not get rehired, some positions that did not get refilled, because to be perfectly candid with you, I couldn't figure out what they did. Let's just candid. You know, you sit down and ask somebody what they do, what is your job? And the person says, well, you know, when the director can't make it to a meeting, I go for him. I say, cool, what's your job? Well, I just took, that's my job. That's not a job. That's not a job that taxpayers should pay for. That's not a job. That's a position you leave vacant, and you leave that money in the bank to pay the bills for other people who do work for a living. It's my perspective. And so the combination of the 5% and the positions that didn't get refilled saved us about $3 million. $3 million won't get us out of this mess, but it is at least an early beginning. Okay? One of the next things we did was look around and say, we really have to watch our hiring and spending, and we need a hiring and spending freeze. Everything is subject to review because there are emergencies that occur places. We get that. But we can't just continue to act like we have money we don't have. And so the hiring and spending freeze is in place. We have looked at the county's properties. It may sound perfectly normal and sane to you that a government agency would know what properties it owned and what properties it leased. But there was no list anywhere that told us what we owned and what we leased. And so we went to an outside company. And by the way, these outside companies that we solicited to come in came in for free. We're not paying these people to figure out how deep the hole is. If they want to do business with the county later, or they want to be good corporate citizens, that's fine. But this is about trying to help. And so a group came in to look at all the county properties and aggregate all of the county properties. And what we found is what you probably could assume we found. A number of buildings that we own, 50% occupied. We're paying all the operating expenses. We're paying to maintain the buildings. And then you go up the road 10 miles and there's another place similarly situated. Or you could be in the Taj Mahal that we're in downtown, the Guardian building, a beautiful building. We probably shouldn't have bought it, but we have it now and it is a beautiful building. It's 24%, we have 24% vacancy in that building. So I'm seeing all these buildings that we're paying for, we're fixing, and they're not utilized reasonably. So O'Keefe, which was the company we contacted, looked at it, made recommendations. We're in the process now of consolidating folks to places so we can have 100% capacity. We can still provide the services we need to provide. And frankly, a lot of that property that's just sitting out there needs to be sold, or it needs to be developed. It needs to bring us an income stream or some income. That's going to save us money. We've looked at reorganizing departments in the county so that we can do two things. Because we can never lose sight of the fact our fundamental mission is to provide services for people. That's what we're here for. And so the idea of looking at reorganizing was about saying two things. One is, how can we reduce the amount of people it takes to get the job done and still provide the services and maybe even provide them better? We've merged some departments to do that. And quite frankly, I don't think you can argue with the fact that service delivery ought to be better. If we have a department, for example, like Health and Human Services, that deals with families and issues in those families. We have another department on the other side of the house called Children and Family Services that deals with children and family and services. Why would they be in separate silos? They ought to be in one silo, and we know then everybody in that family who we are providing services to, what those services are, why, with the idea that instead of the historical perspective, which is, how many services do we provide? We want to be the best service provider. We just want to provide a ton of services. I don't. I want to provide all of the services we need to provide in a comprehensive way, so at some point we can stop providing them. I thought the game here is to create an atmosphere where people don't need government services. I mean, as long as they do, fine. You know, I don't have a timetable to get them off. I'm just saying, are we trying to fix a problem, or are we trying to institutionalize benefits? And I don't think we should be institutionalizing benefits. I think we need to try to work at doing that. So the hiring freeze, the reorganization, the property, the reduction of wages in the first place, all of that to me is kind of like low-hanging fruit, but that's going to save us many millions of dollars. But our structural deficit is $52 million a year. And I have to say that to people again, most of you get it, but people think of that often as an accumulated deficit, meaning if we pay the $52 million, we're good. No, it means every year our budget is $52 million under where it should be, or the other way to say it is, we don't have enough money to spend that $52 million. The county's budget deficit has clearly been underwater for at least the last 2 years. In other words, we bring in $52 million less in revenue than we spend. So the next question is, well, how do we pull that off? We pull that off because we have other funds that we can rob Peter to pay Paul from. We can take road funds. We can take mental health funds. And so if we can't balance our budget today, just rob Peter and pay Paul later and move along like that. And we've done that for a long time, and we've done that with the help of the treasurer and what's called the Delinquent Tax Revolving Fund. I know you've read over the years that it looks like the sky is falling, and then the county would come up with $82 million or $100 million. And I scratch it, I don't know where it came from. That's a good thing, right? It is a good thing while it's still out there. Now let me just explain that. The Delinquent Tax Revolving Fund is money that the county gets from people's misfortune. Foreclosures. Interest and penalty on foreclosures that are paid is what makes up this Delinquent Tax Revolving Fund. So when we as a community get better off and there are fewer foreclosures, guess what? The county's got less money. The social import of it is, I don't want any of that money. I want the county to be fine, people not being foreclosed. I don't care about that money. And we will not be able to count on it in the future because things are getting better, and that pennies from heaven money will not be there very long. And so we're still looking at that $52 million deficit. And I wish I could stop there. But now let me walk to the other side and say, 10 years ago, the county's pension system was the gold standard. 95% funded, you couldn't get a better pension system. 95% funded 10 years ago. 10 years later, today, it is 44% funded. And we run the risk of a pension system going belly up if we don't do something to correct it. What do we need to do to correct it? We need an influx of $20 million a year for the next 10 years just to get us back up to 70%. 70% is not the gold standard, but at least you can sleep at night. 44% is an extremely risky number, and so now you have a $52 million structural deficit, and we need an influx of another $20 million a year to start to pay back the pension system. So now we're at $72 million. We've done a number of things that are low-hanging fruit, but at the end of the day, I'm just going to be perfectly honest with everybody here. I can sell snowplows, and I can sell old raggedy buildings, and I can sell pickup trucks, but it's not going to get us $72 million because that's not what's costing us the $72 million. What's costing us $72 million is shortfalls in our retirement system and costs in health care. It's that way with any community that's out here. That's the reality. And so that's where the heavy lifting has to come from, and that's where the importance of everyone sitting down trying to work through this together saying, I don't want to give any more. I don't feel like I can give any more. But what is the option if you don't? The system going belly up and you don't have a retirement. There's no win in this other than to work together and say, how do we suffer out of it and then manage in such a way till we don't get back in it. And to me, that's the challenge. And trust me, I don't have on rose-colored glasses. I know this is not going to be easy. But I also know I need $72 million. And if I don't find it, and we don't get it done collectively as stakeholders, somebody's going to come in and do it. Now, we give an awful lot of lip service to home control, home rule. We need to take care of our own business. Trust me, if we don't take care of this, someone will come in and take care of it. And that's a decision folks have to make about whether or not they want to do that. Regardless of who does it, the county is going to buy goods and services. Do you want local folks in control that you elected to determine what goods and services we buy and from whom? Or do you want Lansing to come in and bring its vendors and its folks to decide where it goes? I'm not knocking anybody with that. I'm simply saying my math says I'd like the money to turn over in our county, not turn over in Grand Rapids or Holland or wherever else it may go. And I think as much lip service as we've given over the years to taking care of our own business, it would be a sin and a shame to be in a position where someone had to come in and straighten us out again. And really, that's the essence of what I think, is our situation and the problem. And trust me, another thing you will see, and we've already done this, and I think all of the stakeholders will agree. I don't negotiate through the media. I negotiate with my stakeholders. There's nothing that we've done that the stakeholders haven't had a copy of, been talked to about before we come to the media. I was a sheriff for 6.5 years, and quite frankly, I got sick and tired of media people calling me and saying, what do you think about what the county executive just said? And my response, I don't know what he said. He didn't call me. He called you. That's not respectful to me. I'm a stakeholder. I got skin in the game. Why can't you call me first? So I don't do that. I mean, the media's always going to get stuff, but we've spent our time trying to build the relationship with our stakeholders that they really are. We are in this together. Sheriff for 6.5 years, and I don't mind telling you, I was an abused sheriff. Every sheriff is abused by a county executive. That's the way it works in Wayne County. You get to be county executive, you step on the necks of everybody else that you can kind of control. I mean, I've been around here 40 years. It's nothing new. I'm not blaming anybody individually. I'm just telling you honestly, that's the way it's worked. So my choice is, I can be an abused sheriff who learns to be the best abuser, or I can be an abused sheriff who learns not to abuse. I choose to do the latter. This is a partnership. I'm working with a bunch of people, and we cannot get this done unless we do it together. A shared sacrifice that is painful. And it's going to be painful from my level down. We're going to do this collectively. My people will take hits also. This is not a us versus them. The people who do the work in Wayne County are the workers. I get it. I've been a sheriff and a police chief. The police chief, except for me sometimes, are not the guys out there making arrests. It's the people you pay to do the work. I'm not out there shoveling the snow in the winter. I'm not the guy fighting fires. I'm not the guy guarding prisoners in the jail. The work gets done by them. And quite frankly, they're going to pay a significant price for us to get back on our feet. And we're going to share that sacrifice, but we have to do it together. There's plenty of room for negotiation because I can pick an area where we need to save money and say, I need to save $20 million here. And I'm not just throwing that out hypothetically. We've gone through the math and said, this is the savings we'll need from this area. I'm not going to back down on the amount we need to save, but I'm open to how we get to that number. I don't care if it's cafeteria plans that affect certain folks at certain stages of their employment more than others. I mean, all of that needs to be worked out, and we're willing to do that. I mean, we want to be able to do that. But there has to be a reality check that understands the state's not playing. You know, we've seen bankruptcies and we've seen emergency management. To me, in bankruptcy, and I'm a lawyer by trade, but not a bankruptcy lawyer, I don't get to share in that $100 million that they made on Detroit's bankruptcy. I'm not trying to feed lawyers, I'm trying to feed people. And so bankruptcy doesn't do anything financially that I can see that would benefit Wayne County at all. And frankly, if Wayne County gets to the point where it goes into bankruptcy, it's going to start pulling down all of the other places that are starting to rise. And we all understand when the ocean starts to rise, which we're looking for, not all boats come up at the same time. It just doesn't happen. We're a business of people providing services for other people. We have not done a good job of managing it in the past. And the reality is, many folks supported the people who brought us to where we were. You didn't do it on purpose. I ain't mad at you. But we all got some culpability in this game. We all got some skin in this game. But at this point, we got to figure out how to get out of it. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about. And I didn't want to do it in a way that just comes in and says, here's what it is, and now let me hit the back door. You know, I wanted to do it in a way that says, here it is, here's what I'm thinking. Please tell me what you think. Ask me whatever questions you think are pertinent. And let's try to walk through this best we can. I mean, we're not going to solve everything tonight, but again, Wayne County has a history for not being transparent. And Wayne County has a history for people not necessarily doing what they say or saying what they do. The only way I think you get people's support is that you at least let them know that you're being straightforward with them. And we're trying to do this as a team effort. I mean, I've got a bunch of people in here far smarter than I am with respect to finances and other things. I mean, one thing, if you have any sense at all, you should understand is you got to know what you don't know. I'm not the financial wizard, but I've got some around me. I've got a bunch of dedicated people that are working late into the night to try to get this solved. But what I do know, and I have experience doing, is managing through crises. I can do it, and we can get it done. But you notice I said we, not me. It's we that get it done. It's a team that makes it happen. And the suburban communities and others out here, to me, that's part of a team. The county's job should be to support local communities, not to compete with them, and not to create grandiose projects that impact them but never had their input. That's just not my style of doing business. So we're going to do things a lot differently, but what I've learned in the first 3 months is bad habits are hard to forget. And I've been hollered at more than once. I don't think necessarily because of something I did, but just because it was a residual of something from the past, and the automatic reaction is, there you go again, there you go again. And I have to back up and say, maybe I didn't quite tactfully do that the way I should have, but trust me, we're not going there. We're here to work with our stakeholders. We're here to work with the communities and do the best we can. And will we make mistakes? Absolutely. Anybody in here that doesn't, I'd really like to talk to you after the meeting, because there's a lot I can learn from you. But there will not be malicious mistakes, and they will not be dumb mistakes, and they will not be mistakes that get repeated if I can be convinced that it was a problem. We just want to fix it. We just want to make it better for the people who deserve it. I've either been a county employee or a person close to the county for over 40 years. I get it. I've been through a bunch of administrations. You didn't hear me take a cheap shot at any individual here tonight. What good does it do? We are where we are, and we have to come out of it from where we are. I'm about trying to fix it. And I think, quite frankly, the stakeholders that I've had a chance to personally talk to, they understand that. I'm not suggesting that they'll agree with everything I say. I'm saying I think to a person, any of the stakeholders that I've identified tonight are people who understand it's a problem, are dedicated public servants that want to fix the problem, and are willing to work with me to the extent they can do that. And that's all one can ask. That's where we are. That's kind of the end of my presentation. I have to make myself do that, because the longer you do this, you can talk for 4 or 5 hours, because you get to the point where you actually like hearing yourself talk.